Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I thought this would be a good use of your time. I'm going to keep this kind of short and sweet, but as we begin to study statistics, my guess is you've had at least 3 months without some serious math talk and work, maybe even closer to 4, 5, or 6, depending on how your spring went with the end of our school year last year. And depending on when your teacher taught statistics or you guys discussed it in 8th grade, it's maybe been even longer than that since you really talked about this. So I thought this would be a very, very good refresher. So when we're teaching you your new things, your 9th grade learning objectives, you have this stuff kind of in the forefront of your memory, and it's just more fresh for you. So I have here just a couple of middle school kind of how-tos as a refresher. I have a long list of numbers here, and let's say that we are talking about the amount of text messages that you have sent over the last, we'll call it 30 days. I think this is 30 pieces of information here. Okay, so I have already done you a favor and listed them from least to greatest. You don't always have to do that depending on what you're being asked, but there's oftentimes where you do need to have them listed least to greatest. And this is kind of a long set of numbers. Normally you'll get a smaller set, like less than 30 different numbers, but you need to prepare to be able to work with a list that's possibly this big. Let's dive right into it. First thing here is the mean. Another word for mean that I mentioned in one of my first videos that you'll see is the average. So you just need to be ready to know how to find that. So in order to find that, we're going to go ahead. Let me get this off the screen here. I'm going to go Cougar Green. Save this. The mean is when you take all of these numbers, add them up, and then divide by how many different numbers there are, how many total numbers there are. So I went ahead and spared us the details for time's sake. I added all these numbers up from here to here, from 0 all the way to 22, each individual one, and it was 195. And I divided it by 30 because there's 30 pieces of information, and that number is 6.5. I'm sorry, my handwriting is not the greatest, but using it on this Chromebook here makes it look even less great than it normally is. So bear with me. I'll always say it. Hopefully you can at least understand what I'm saying, but it's not so bad that you can't read it, but there's times where you'll be like, whoa, that guy could really use some work on the old handwriting there. All right, into the next one, the median, right? I mentioned this as well. The median is the number in the very middle. You know that method. You cross off the smallest, then the biggest, then the next smallest, right? So let's go ahead and take a second to do that. There's the first, the next, boom, 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 boom. Sorry, I'm trying not to knock my laptop off over here. There's 5 on each side. That's 6. That's a 6. 7. Whoops. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. Did I do that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And we have right here, smack dab in the middle, is what's in between 7 and 7, because there's 2 numbers left. Nothing is in between 7 and 7, right? So the median would be 7. If you get 2 numbers that aren't the same, say that your 2 numbers left are, let's call them, 13 and 22. Who knows what to do with those? Because there's definitely a number in between 13 and 22, and we don't want to try to count to figure it out. You add those 2 and divide by 2 because there's 2 numbers left. So 13 plus 22 would be 35. Sorry, 35. And 35 divided by 2 would give you that answer there. Next, the mode. The mode is the number that you see the most. So which number occurs the most often? The number that occurs the most often is, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 7s, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 11s, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. So our mode, we could say, is 0 and 7 and 11. Those 3 occur 5 different times. The range is always going to be your biggest number minus your smallest number. Our biggest number is 22. Smallest number is 0. So 22 minus 0, the last time I checked, is 22. All right, we keep moving on. Hopefully you're still with me here. I'm going to keep this little squiggle there in the middle, so we have our middle left, and I'm going to get rid of all of these little marks here and all of these little marks here because it's going to help us out with what we're doing next. Here we go. So this next one is the 5-number summary. We'll see it in another video as well, kind of what they are and what they mean and why we use them, but just how do we find them? So we need to know these 5 things. The first one is the minimum. That number normally speaks for itself. When we hear minimum, we think small. What's the smallest number on this list? The smallest number on this list is a 0. Let's jump down to the median, right? We already answered the median up above. The median is right there on that line that I drew up here. And that number was 7. So our median is 7. Our maximum, if minimum is smallest, maximum is largest. What's our largest number? 22 is our largest number. Okay. These things should hopefully be coming back to you. First quartile and third quartile is essentially finding the median again. But the first quartile is just what's the median of this first half of information there. So we're going to go ahead and cross these out until we get ourselves one nice number in the middle. So gone and gone. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's 4. That's 5. That's 6. That's 7. Boom. Our first quartile is 3. Okay. Same thing for the third quartile. Sometimes you'll hear it called the upper and lower quartile. Lower goes with 1. Upper goes with 3. What is the middle of all of this jazz over here, right? So let's get rid of these. Can we find the median of this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom. Third quartile is 11. All right. Useful information. So why would we find that? I don't know. Maybe you need to talk about, you're trying to kind of analyze and summarize this data. And someone might say, tell me just like, somebody could walk in and say the number of text messages you sent the last 30 days, tell me about it. You don't want to sit there and say, well, one day I sent 0 and 0 and 0 and 0 and 0 and 2 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 4 and 5. That doesn't really mean anything to them, right? So some useful pieces of information is this 5-number summary that we just found, right? You might be able to say, hey, the least I sent in the last 30 days was 0. The most I sent in the last 30 days was 22. If you lined all of my days up in a row from smallest to largest, the middle was 7. You can say a couple things up here, even like the mode. 5 times I sent 0 text, 5 times I sent 7, 5 times I sent 11. And then this is kind of telling them, again, percentages are great for a 5-number summary and the box plot that we're going to do down below here. So here's our box plot area down below. We'll use that. And then the last thing I want to do before the box plot is this interquartile range. So the interquartile range, right? Oh, I put interquartile range, right? Interquartile range is also called the IQR, which comes from interquartile range, is just the third quartile minus the first quartile. So we have those numbers, right? What's our third quartile? It's 11. Right? What's our first quartile? It's 3. 11 minus 3. We have 11. Ooh, 8. We have 8. Sorry for my let's try that one more time. Can I do better here? I need to get good at these tools. That is a much better looking 8. Our interquartile range is 8. We'll talk about kind of, once I get this box plot drawn, why that's even a useful piece of information. So let's do it, right? We have these 5 pieces of information right here. Let's put a dot on this number line down below at each one. So our first dot should be going at 0. There's my dot. My next dot should be going at 3. My next dot is at 7. That's my median there. My third quartile, which is my fourth dot, is going at 11. And then I have this dot all the way over here. Now, the box plot, which sometimes is called a box and whisker plot. You might have heard that. Same thing. We just, I don't know, it's kind of drop the whiskers. We just really refer to it as a box plot nowadays. We're going to go ahead and draw our box here from these middle 3 points. Imagine that box is perfectly on there. We don't live in a perfect world, so use your imagination. And then these are where the name whisker came from. Boom and boom. And then you're going to see me in the next video really talk about this more in depth. But you are going to really use this again for this reason, these percents, right? So this is super, super useful. Each one of these pieces is 25%. I'll go over that in the next video. But it's just really good to summarize and show data without showing all of this right here. I don't need to have all of that listed anymore. We just summarized all of your last 30 days of text messages right here on this guy right there. Okay. So you could find out, hey, my smallest thing here is at 0. My maximum I sent was 22. The middle day of all of them when I lined them from smallest to biggest was at 7. And then again, we talk about these percentages. This interquartile range of 8, again, comes from 11 minus 3. Here's my 11. Here's my 3. So it's just taking this minus this. And then that's your middle 50%, right? So you could say, if you take out my days where I didn't text very much, and if you take out my days where I texted a lot, on average, kind of like my middle 50% of my days, I was texting somewhere between 3 and 11 text messages on those days. And that's where that 8 comes from. You know, there was a difference of 8 from my 75th percent to my 25th percent right there. Definitely useful information when we're looking just at one graph here, one box plot, and even when we're looking at 2 and we're comparing, and I'm trying to say, tell me the difference between these two. Referencing those percents is awesome. Thanks for following along. This doesn't record. I was hoping for 10 minutes or less, and hopefully it's close. I will talk to you all soon, and stay tuned for the next video. We'll chat soon.